He was my best friend. I trusted him with my business, my money, my family. Then I found out that while I was working day and night, he was sleeping with my wife. He thought I would just walk away. But I left him only ruins. The first time I met Mike Watson was during freshman orientation at Cornell. We were both lost, trying to find our way to the business administration building, and ended up walking in circles for 20 minutes before realizing we'd been following each other. That shared moment of embarrassed laughter became the foundation of what I thought would be a lifelong friendship. We were inseparable throughout college. While other students spent their weekends partying, Mike and I would stay up late, dreaming about opening our own restaurant. We'd sketch floor plans on napkins, debate cuisine styles, and calculate startup costs until dawn. It wasn't just talk, we worked every job we could find in the restaurant industry, learning the business from the ground up. Dishwashers, servers, line cooks, we did it all. After graduation, we took the plunge. With our combined savings and a small business loan, we opened The Grove, an upscale American bistro in downtown Boston. I handled the day-to-day operations and staff management, while Mike worked with suppliers and handled our inventory. We complemented each other perfectly, or so I thought. That's when Emily walked into my life. She came to The Grove as a customer on a rainy Tuesday evening, sat at the bar alone, and ordered our signature bourbon-glazed short ribs. I still remember how she smiled when she took the first bite, closing her eyes in appreciation. We talked for hours that night, long after the kitchen had closed. Mike was the first person I told about her. He seemed genuinely excited for me, offering advice about where to take her on dates and even helping me plan the perfect proposal 6 months later. At our wedding, his best man speech brought tears to everyone's eyes. He talked about destiny, about how some people are meant to find each other. I didn't realize then that he was looking at Emily while he said those words. The first 3 years of marriage were everything I'd dreamed of. The restaurant was thriving, Emily's interior design business was taking off, and we had just bought our dream house in Newton. I was working long hours, true, but it was all for our future. At least, that's what I told myself. The changes were subtle at first. Emily's yoga classes suddenly switched from morning to evening. She started keeping her phone face down and taking calls in another room. When I'd ask about her day, her answers became vague, rehearsed. But I trusted her completely. Maybe that was my first mistake. Then came the day Josh, my floor manager, asked to speak with me privately. Josh had been with us since the beginning, and I'd never seen him look so uncomfortable. "Listen, Tom," he said, fidgeting with his tie. "I wouldn't say anything if I didn't think you needed to know. But Emily's been coming here a lot when you're not around." My stomach tightened, but I kept my face neutral. "She likes the food," I said with a forced smile. Josh wouldn't meet my eyes. "She's always with Mike. And they don't sit where customers sit. They use his office. Sometimes for hours." I thanked Josh for telling me, went home, and spent the night staring at the ceiling, telling myself there had to be an explanation. Maybe they were planning a surprise for my upcoming birthday. Maybe Emily was helping Mike with interior design ideas for the restaurant's expansion. The anonymous email arrived 3 days later. No message, just a series of photos. Emily and Mike leaving a hotel together. Holding hands in his car. Kissing in what looked like our restaurant's back alley. The timestamp showed a pattern going back months. I felt like I was watching my life from outside my body. The rage I expected didn't come. Instead, I felt a cold, calculating clarity I'd never experienced before. My best friend and my wife had betrayed me in the worst possible way. But I wouldn't give them the satisfaction of seeing me lose control. First, I needed to understand the full scope of their betrayal. I hired a forensic accountant to go through the restaurant's books. What she found made my blood run cold. Mike had been systematically embezzling from our business for over a year. He'd set up fake supplier accounts, inflated invoices, and skimmed profits into hidden accounts. While I was working 16-hour days to build our dream, he was stealing from me and sleeping with my wife. I spent the next week planning. Every detail had to be perfect. I wouldn't just get revenge, I would orchestrate their complete destruction. The first phase of my plan was simple: information gathering. I needed leverage, and in today's digital age, everyone leaves traces. I hired a private investigator who specialized in corporate fraud. Within days, she provided me with a goldmine of evidence: bank statements, email exchanges, hotel receipts. Mike hadn't just been stealing, he'd been sloppy about it. I also discovered he'd been cutting corners with our suppliers. He'd switched to lower quality ingredients while charging our books for premium prices. Several vendors were furious about late payments, but Mike had intercepted their complaints before they reached me. This wasn't just theft, it was a systematic betrayal of everything we'd built. The next phase required patience. I started having weekly meetings with our restaurant's lawyer, carefully documenting everything. We updated all our contracts, tightening every loophole Mike might try to exploit. I made sure my name alone was on our new liquor license renewal. All while acting completely normal. Mike noticed nothing. He was too busy with his own schemes, and my wife. I watched them at work, noting how they thought they were being subtle. A lingering glance here, a casual touch there. Mike would bring Emily coffee every morning, just the way she liked it: oat milk latte with an extra shot. The same order I'd brought her for 3 years. I chose a Tuesday to begin the endgame. Tuesdays were always slow at the restaurant, and I knew Mike had dinner plans with Emily. They thought I was flying to Chicago for a restaurant supplier convention. Instead, I was in my lawyer's office, signing documents. At 6 p.m., while they were probably getting ready for their date, my plan went into action. First, simultaneous emails went out to all our suppliers, alerting them to immediate changes in our payment and ordering systems. Their responses were swift. Many had been waiting months for this opportunity to break free from Mike's manipulative deals. At 7 p.m., as Mike and Emily were likely sharing an intimate dinner, thinking they had all the time in the world, our bank processed the changes to our business accounts. Every access code Mike had was invalidated. Every credit card in his name was cancelled. The restaurant's security system was quietly reprogrammed to deny his entry codes. At 8 p.m., a detailed report of Mike's financial misconduct was delivered to the State Restaurant Association Board and the IRS. The evidence was overwhelming: falsified invoices, diverted payments, tax evasion. I made sure the trail led only to him. After all, he'd been so careful to keep his schemes hidden from me. By 9 p.m., when they might have been planning to head to their usual hotel, the police had been notified of the substantial fraud evidence. Not by me, of course. The report came from our concerned head accountant, who had just discovered the discrepancies. I waited until 10 p.m. to send the email that would tear their world apart. A simple message to our entire staff, our business partners, and our local restaurant community: due to the discovery of serious financial misconduct, Mike Watson is no longer associated with the Grove or any of its operations. Business will continue as usual under sole ownership. We appreciate your understanding and continued support. I included Emily's parents in the email chain. They had invested in her interior design business, convinced by Mike's glowing recommendations of her talent. They deserved to know what kind of man had been advising them. The next 24 hours were a symphony of chaos. Mike tried to access his email, locked. His key card at the restaurant, deactivated. His business credit cards, declined. His attempts to contact our suppliers were met with silence or curt replies about new management protocols. Every safety net he'd built was disintegrating. Emily called me 17 times that night. I let each call go to voicemail, each message more desperate than the last. "Please, we need to talk," she begged. "It's not what you think." But it was exactly what I thought. just worse than she realized. Mike's first mistake was trying to enter the restaurant early the next morning. The new security system immediately alerted me, capturing clear footage of him attempting to use his old codes. When that failed, he tried his emergency key, which now triggered our silent alarm. The police arrived within minutes, finding him breaking in. He talked his way out of arrest, but the incident report was filed. Another piece of evidence showing his desperation. His second mistake was bigger. He attempted to transfer funds from our business accounts to his personal one, a transaction I'd been waiting for. The bank flagged it as potential fraud, exactly as I'd arranged. Within hours, his accounts were frozen pending investigation. Emily showed up at the restaurant that afternoon, mascara streaked down her face. She'd learned that I'd contacted our lawyers about divorce proceedings. More importantly, she'd discovered her parents knew everything. They were devastated, not just by the affair, but by the realization that their daughter's business partner had been manipulating their investments. "How could you do this to me?" she demanded, causing a scene in front of our lunch crowd. "My parents are threatening to pull their funding." I simply looked at her, letting the silence stretch uncomfortable and long. "I didn't do anything to you, Emily. I just exposed what you and Mike did to me." Mike's final desperate move came 3 days later. He tried to claim I had known about the financial irregularities all along, that I was equally responsible. But my detailed records showed otherwise. Every fraudulent transaction, every falsified order, every skimmed payment, all bore his digital fingerprints alone. His accusations only made him look more guilty. The revenge I'd orchestrated was complete, but watching it unfold brought me no joy. I felt hollow, drained. The restaurant continued to operate smoothly. In fact, our numbers improved once we started using legitimate suppliers again. But the place that had once been my dream now felt tainted. Emily moved in with her sister in Providence. The last I heard, her design business was struggling without her parents' backing. She sent me one final email, a long confession about how the affair started, how Mike had pursued her relentlessly, making her feel special during the long hours I worked. She said she missed the man I used to be. I didn't bother responding. That man was gone. Mike's downfall was more spectacular. The fraud investigation froze most of his assets. His reputation in the restaurant community was destroyed. No supplier would work with him, no restaurant would hire him. He tried opening a small cafe in New Hampshire, but without his stolen funds or connections, it failed within months. I ran into him 6 months later at a food industry event in Portland. He looked older, defeated. When he saw me, he slumped against the wall, all his former confidence evaporated. "You destroyed everything I had," he whispered, his voice breaking. I looked at him for a long moment, remembering the friend who had once been like a brother to me. "No, Mike. You did this to yourself. Every step of the way, you had choices. You chose to steal from me. You chose to pursue my wife. You chose to lie to my face every single day while betraying me in every way possible. I just chose not to let you get away with it." He slid down the wall until he was sitting on the floor, head in his hands. "I loved her," he mumbled. "I really loved her." "Then you should have met her first," I said, and walked away. That was 2 years ago. The Grove is still successful, more so, actually, since I implemented stricter financial controls and better supplier relationships. I've opened 2 more locations in the Boston area, each one profitable. On paper, I'm more successful than ever. Emily remarried last spring to a real estate developer. I heard about it through mutual friends. Sometimes I wonder if he knows about her past, if she'll do to him what she did to me. But those thoughts come less frequently now. Last month, I received a letter from Mike. He's working as a line cook in a diner in Vermont. The letter was part confession, part apology. He wrote about how he'd convinced himself that he deserved more, that he was entitled to everything he took, my money, my wife, my trust. He said he finally understands what he lost was worth more than anything he gained. I never replied to his letter, but I keep it in my desk drawer. Sometimes, late at night when I'm doing paperwork at the restaurant, I take it out and read it again. Not because I've forgiven him, I haven't. But because it reminds me that success is the best revenge. Yet there are moments, usually around closing time when the restaurant is quiet, that I find myself missing the simplicity of those early days. Two friends with a dream, sketching plans on napkins, believing we could take on the world together. I wonder if any victory, no matter how complete, can fill the void left by a betrayal so deep. The restaurant critics love to talk about how I built an empire from the ashes of betrayal. They call it a testament to resilience, a triumph of determination over deceit. What they don't understand is that some ashes never wash away. They become part of you, a permanent reminder of who you were and what you lost. Yesterday, a young couple came into the Grove, bright-eyed and excited, asking about franchise opportunities. As I looked at them, I saw myself and Mike from 10 years ago, the passion, the dreams, the absolute trust in each other. I spent 2 hours sharing advice about the industry, but I left out the most important lesson I've learned: sometimes the people closest to you cast the longest shadows. For now, I focus on building something new. The Grove's newest location opens next month in Providence, yes, the same city where Emily lives. It's not meant as a message to her, but I won't deny enjoying the symmetry. The restaurant will be my best yet, with a glass-walled wine cellar and a chef's table overlooking the bay. Success truly is an art form. But sometimes, in my quieter moments, I wonder if I've become something harder, colder, in the process of protecting what's mine. The calculated precision with which I orchestrated Mike and Emily's downfall revealed a part of myself I never knew existed. A part that could watch someone's world burn and feel nothing but the cold satisfaction of justice served. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. What they don't tell you is that it leaves you cold too, frozen in the moment of betrayal, forever changed by the knowledge of what people are capable of, and what you're capable of doing in return. I've learned that true power isn't in the revenge you take, but in the mercy you choose not to give. Every time I sign a contract, approve a partnership, or trust a new employee, I remember the lesson written in the ashes of my former friendship: trust, once broken, becomes armor. The Grove's story isn't over. Neither is mine. But now I walk a different path, eyes wide open, knowing that sometimes the price of success is the comfort of blind faith. And I'm no longer sure which cost is higher, the pain of betrayal, or the toll of never fully trusting again.